and you kind of float back and forth, and then you wake up. Have you ever gone to bed at night and woke up just totally exhausted the next day? How many of you ever experienced that? Let me see how many experienced it. Okay, look around the room. Almost always. You know why? Because you never got into the deep sleep. You were so preoccupied or troubled that you didn't get into that deep sleep. So what you did is you just kind of moved around all night, but you never got to repair. So when you went to bed, you were fatigued, and then you struggled all night, and you woke up, you were even more tired. So if you get into a real deep sleep, you repair yourself. So what happens when you put yourself under hypnosis, you go into that deep sleep immediately. In about 5 minutes, you're in that deep sleep. And that way, when you're in there for 20 or 30 minutes, it's like your body's repairing the equivalent of a third of a night's sleep, 2 or 3 hours. So I really got interested in that, and it worked so well, I would put myself out for 20 or 30 minutes, and then I could work until 11 o'clock at night, and I'd be full of energy. So I was really excited about that, and the more I studied it, the more I was able to achieve with that. I used to hypnotize my wife and my kids, and I even developed a mental program for my son. He was an athlete, and he was in a field where he was at great disadvantage. He was about 5'8", 180, 190 pounds in high school. But he was competing, he was into shot put, and he was competing against guys 6'4", 240 pounds. So we developed a mental program to get him to be able to excel in athletics, and he did very well. He became a city championship in Los Angeles. He won the Los Angeles Juniors College Championship against guys 6'4", 240 pounds, and one of the most extraordinary things we were able to do, one time he fell out of the ring and sprained his ankle. And so we put him in a tape cast, and I hypnotized him, because when you have a sprained ankle and you step on it, it's tremendous pain. And he had to step on it, throw a 16-pound ball. So the doctor said he's out for the season. I said, no, I can anesthetize him. I can remove the pain under hypnosis. And he went on the field. I had him under hypnosis, and he won the meet. He threw 6 inches of the best he'd ever thrown in his life under hypnosis. Now, that's one of the benefits of hypnosis, but one of the greatest benefits of hypnosis, and I wish I had the time to share some of the experiences, but let me give you an example of what can happen. There's a woman that I know I've had many great conversations with. She lives in Florida. She's a hypnotist, and she does it for a profession. So she wrote a book, and she gives about 30 years of case history. So let me tell you what can happen in your lifetime, even if you got great friends, great parents, somebody says something to you, it gets stuck in your subconscious mind. So this girl had a lot of problem with weight. She gained 100 pounds, she'd lose 100 pounds, she'd go back up, tried every diet, never could get her weight right. So she was hypnotized, and what happened is when she was a little girl, 12 or 13, her uncle used to come over and he says, when are you going to get rid of that baby fat? And that used to really upset her and embarrass her and make her angry. So after that, whenever she heard somebody say that, she'd go to the drugstore and have a malt. And she felt so good when she had that malt that whenever she felt bad or depressed or somebody said something about her weight, she'd go have a malt. Well, once they removed that block in her mind, she didn't have to diet anymore, went to a normal weight, didn't have any problems. So hypnosis is a great way to find out what the problem is that is troubling you if you have a problem. Now, let me give you an example of the subconscious. The subconscious records everything that's ever been experienced in your life. Every emotion, every smell, everything that's ever been is in your subconscious mind. So when you put a person under hypnosis, you can roll them back and say, you're 15 now, what happened when you were 15? You're 13, and you go back. I've hypnotized somebody back all the way to where they were 6 months. And they're laying there on the couch laughing like a little baby. So you can roll people back all the way, figure out what the problems is, and then work it out. And that's the way I have worked out some of my problems that I had. I'll give you one quick example. When my mom gave me away to this girl to sneak me through the lines, I was angry with her most of my life, and part of the reason was because of the fact that I thought she had given me away, that she didn't want me, but she was actually doing it to save my life. So as a little kid, when your mother shoves you out the door, you figured that she didn't want you. So it's a tremendous rejection. The other reason I was angry at my mother is, as I indicated to you, she was a very powerful woman, very strong woman, and not exactly the kind of nurturing mother you'd like to grow up with. So we had our own issues about that. But I always respected her because of the risk she was willing to take, about her compassion, because of her spirit, and so forth. But in hypnosis, you can work out these kind of things, and I would encourage all of you to pursue it. And by the way, if you want a good book on the subject, it's called Self-Hypnosis by Leslie Lecron. That is a very simple book to understand. You could learn it in a few weeks, and you could get a lot of benefit from it. By the way, one of my hobbies is collecting quotations. And the reason I started this hobby is that one day I was having a problem in my business, and things weren't going well my way. And I had a girl working for me, and she was bringing in the mail, and she brought in all this mail. And all of a sudden, there was a magazine. It was just amazing. It kind of spun around, and it landed right facing me, and it says, "I will prepare myself and the opportunity will come." And that quote hit me like a brick. I thought, geez, I'm trying to get this business going. I'm not really prepared to do it. So I'm going to make my commitment to spend my time preparing it. I completely changed my strategy in the business, and it started really working well. And so I realized that there are great thoughts out there, so it became my hobby. I took that quote and I put it on my Rolodex, and every day I would look at it. And then I started seeing other quotes that were guiding me. And so as you get an idea in your mind, you will be attracted to information that'll come to you. And so when you put a goal in your mind, all of a sudden you start seeing ways in which you are guided. And so I started collecting quotes. I have about 5,000 in my computer, and I've categorized them by subject. And so I made this quote book, which has my favorite quotes in there, and I hope you will use it to inspire yourself, to guide yourself, and to accomplish the things that you want out of your life. So I hope you'll all take a copy on the way out. Do you have any other questions? Yes?
You talked a lot about taking risks. What's the biggest risk you've taken in your life?
She wants to know the biggest risk you've taken in your life.
Pardon me?
She wants to know the biggest risk you've taken in your life.
There's been many. I don't even know where to start. Some of them were foolish risks. Okay? So you gotta kind of categorize between what is important and what is not. But I think that almost everything in life takes a risk. When I went out for gymnastics, it was a big risk. I worked for many years without any results. And yet, I had a coach that believed in me. He thought I was going to be very good. And long story short, I became a championship rope climber. This was an event that was you climb a rope 20 feet up in the air. You start from a sitting position. I climbed a 20-foot rope in 3.5 seconds. And I held the school record and the league record for 16 years before they discontinued the event. And even as a high school climber, I placed 9th in the nation among all college students in the national AAU. And that was a great achievement for me because I was one of the weakest, skinniest kids when I started out. And it was a big risk there to work for 2 or 3 years, not to see any kind of results, but to keep going because of the belief that you were going to one day be a champion. And if you put that belief in your mind, things happen. But probably the greatest risk I took was when I started my business, because I didn't have an education, I didn't have any money, and I didn't have any contacts, but I had a dream. I had a dream of building my own business and working in this, and I started with just a small loan of $2,500 out of my a studio apartment, and our company now manages over $1 billion, and we've been in business for 40 years. And so you learn to use your mind and to set your goals and to make a commitment. And then I guess when you get married, you also take a big risk, but that was the best one. And that's my wife. Eileen, would you say hello to everybody? That's the best risk I've ever taken. So they all pay off in different ways. But I encourage you to do it, because here's the beauty. You really can't lose even if you fail. That's the thing people don't understand. Everybody's so afraid of failing. But failing is not the worst thing. Failing is just another way of starting over and trying again. Because if you're doing it the wrong way, it's better to get out and do it differently than to keep it going. But here's what you do. When you make a mistake, when you fail, then you suffer, don't you? And then through that intense suffering, you think about what you did wrong. And then what you did wrong, you correct and you become even better. And so you really can't go wrong, unless, of course, you're in a concentration camp and you pick the wrong guard. You know, then you would be wrong and you'd be dead wrong. But in most cases, it isn't a matter of life and death. And in that case, you take the risk and you go forward and you grow stronger from that. And when you do, you overcome your fear. You know, it's like Emerson says, do the things you fear to do and the death of fear is certain. Is there any other questions? Okay. Well, thank you very much. Thank you.